Problem statement. Count the number of target customers for each country. In this example, we will be using CROSSFILTER to perform this calculation. Now, before we get started with cross filtering, let us first understand the concept of cross filter. So for that, let us go to our model view. So in this example, we have to count the total number of target customers, which we had done in one of our earlier examples, and that column is in the customers table, as you can see here. And we want to segregate the total target customers for different countries, and the country column is in the territories table. Now you can see here that the customers and the territories table do not have a direct relation. They are connected through the sales table. Now if you look at the relationship, it's a one-to-many relationship between customers and sales, and territories and sales also has a one-to-many relationship. And when we look at the flow of relationship, it is from customers to sales. And when we look at the territories and sales table, the flow is from territories to sales. Now, how a filtering is done is, you can filter the sales table based on the elements in the customers table because that is the flow. And again, you can filter the sales table based on the elements in the territories table. But you cannot go back from sales to the customers table because it is opposite to the flow of the relationship. But if you want to filter the customers table based on the elements in the sales table, one way to do that is, you can modify this relationship by clicking on this connector. So right click and select properties. And here you can see that the cross filter direction as of now is single. Now if you click on this drop down, you have the option to convert it to both directions. But if you make a change over here, let me cancel it now. So if you do a change over here, it becomes kind of a permanent change to your data model. And to change it back, you will have to again go there and make the changes. So in cases where you have to perform one-time calculations and you do not want to make changes to your data model, you can use the cross filter function. So let me go back to the data view, and here under all DAX, let us create a new measure. I'll name this, I'll call this target customer per country, and I'll start with the function calculate. And one thing you have to remember over here is, you can use the cross filter functions only with the functions which accept filter as their parameter. And calculate is one such function, so we will use calculate over here. Now calculate is a filter function which accepts expression and filter as its parameters. So based on the filter that is defined, which can be a Boolean expression or a table expression, it evaluates the expression. And what we want here is the count of the target customers. So count. Now count is a statistical function which counts the number of cells within a given column which has non-blank entries. And here the column name is in the customers table, and the column name is target customers. Hit the tab and select it, comma. Okay, you can see that there's a red line below the comma. That means there's something wrong in this. That is because we missed to close the bracket of the count function. So to come out of the count function, let us close the bracket. So I'll close the bracket so you can see that now we are into the calculate function. So we have provided the first argument for the calculate function, which is the expression. Now comma. Now the next parameter is filter. For this filter, we will be using the CROSSFILTER function. Now the first argument of the CROSSFILTER is the left column name. Now this left column name is the column in our first table, which is the customers table, which has the primary key. And the primary key which connects the customers and the sales table is the customer key. So we have to select that column as the left column name, and then comma, and then the right column name is again the column in the sales table with the primary key, which is customer key. So this is the primary key which connects the customer and the sales table. Now comma. Now the next parameter is the CROSSFILTER type. So right now, as we saw in the data model, it is one way. We have to change it to both ways. So if we select both over here, the filtering will happen from the sales table to the customers table as well. So let's go ahead and select both. Close the bracket and enter. So we have the new measure created over here. Now let us go to the reports view and let us add a matrix here. To this, I'll add our TG per country measure that we just created to calculate the target customer. And then from the territories table, I will select the country. So you can see here that this is the number of target customer for each country. So this is how you can use CROSSFILTER to change the direction of filtering wherever there is a need to perform filtering in the opposite direction of the relation that has already been established. So this will create just a temporary change just for the sake of that particular calculation and will not be a permanent change in the data model relationships. In this section, we learned how to use the following relationship functions. Related, it returns a value from another table provided the tables already have a relationship between them. For a relationship that already exists between two tables, it specifies the cross-filtering direction. Calculate, which is a filter function, evaluates an expression in a filtered context.